Greetings everyone, I am Dr. Wolf, and I just read one of the MLP comics called Zen and the Art of Gazebo Repair. I mean, this came out several years ago, and to be honest, I have avoided reading many of the comics over the years because, as some of you may already know, I tend to get headaches from a lot of reading. And even in this case, I did have to take things a little slow in order to get through it. But I am so glad that I did. It is genuinely hilarious to read through some of the bits in here. There's such a wide variety of memorable character interactions, and honestly, I think this might be the best that Big Mac has ever been, even throughout the entirety of the show. Now, within MLP episodes, we've certainly seen moments where Big Mac is both patient and very hardworking. We've seen examples where he's a little scared. We've seen examples where he's genuinely angry. And we've seen examples about where he's learning to be a better pony. But honestly, why I think Zen and the Art of Gazebo Repair is the best example of Big Mac is because we get to see all these different sides of Big Mac, all within the confines of this short story. But honestly, I wish I had given many of the comics a read much sooner because the artwork and the writing throughout these stories is truly excellent. Seriously, I think I laughed more reading through this comic than about 80 to maybe 90% of the MLP episodes I've watched over the years. There's so much going on in both the foreground and the background. And yet throughout it all, I really began to appreciate just how patient Big Mac can be, especially when everyone he comes across is demanding his attention or helping with a chore or even trying to follow him around even though he's trying to get off and do his own thing. Because this entire story got started because Granny Smith is asking Big Mac to make a tiny repair on a gazebo and he's run out of nails. The entire story is driven by his search for a box of nails. And I don't know about you, but that just made the circumstances all the more hilarious. Because it seems like such a simple goal, and yet how many hoops he has to jump through in order to achieve this is truly creative and even over the top at times. But seeing Big Mac being willing to take care of the Cake Twins or help the CMC on their escapades, and believe me, what the CMC are going through in order to try and set up a fireworks display in order to get their cutie marks, because this is a story that takes place well before much of the MLP series. And yet seeing their interactions, and especially whatever code words they come up with to try and set the fireworks off, I don't know why, but that stuck out in my mind a lot more than it probably should. But the entirety of this journey that Big Mac goes through, and honestly the lesson that he learns that even though he really hadn't intended to go through all these different activities and meeting all these different ponies and going through a great many different struggles, the way Sakura puts it towards the end of the comic, I honestly think this is perhaps one of his best lessons that he's ever learned. Because even though he wouldn't have gone out on this journey if it weren't for searching for a box of nails, again, it seems so trivial, and yet the circumstances were still over the top. But I like the idea that a character who mostly kept to himself, mostly focused on his work on the farm, and really hadn't intended to meet so many ponies and do so many things in his search for nails, actually turned out to be one of the better days he's ever had. He thinks about all of the struggles he went through and honestly the situations that really weren't in his favor, and then compares them to all the circumstances where he actually shows his best self and building some grand memories. I think that is one of the better lessons that My Little Pony has ever taught, especially for the largely introverted audience that My Little Pony G4 seemed to attract. And how everything comes together at the end, I won't dare ruin for you. It is a perfectly hilarious moment that even though you feel sorry for the guy, you can't help but enjoy all the antics that he went through to get to that point. I honestly had a lot more fun reading one of the older comics than I could have ever expected. Again, I've avoided the comics for so long because I get headaches from a lot of reading, and even in this case, I had to take things slow. I had to take breaks, but it still was very worthwhile. And if any of you out there actually enjoy hearing my thoughts on these comics, I would very much like to hear which other comics you would recommend that I take a look into. Because if they are this good, I feel like I've been missing out for the past several years. But for anyone else out there who haven't given the comics a try, I'd recommend at least giving this one a read. It is both hilarious and heartwarming, and I still think the lesson is very worthwhile. Plus, the artwork and the writing are really top-notch here. Kudos to the crew over at IDW Comics who brought this to life. For any of you out there who have been keeping up with the comics over the years, would you like to see more videos like these where I'm giving my impressions of these stories? And what other recommendations might you have? Until next time, I am Dr. Wolf, and I still can't believe the CMC side story. It's just so over the top. And I look forward to hearing from you.